Our guest is Tumulty. She is the best reporter and commentator of the Washington Post. Thank you for appearing on.
Thank you for the compliment.
Well, you are certainly one of the most recognized reporters and commentators that does TV interviews, and we really appreciate your availability to comment. We're here on the, as you all know, the CBS debate. Ms. Tumulty is covering this debate, and it's on foreign policy, so let's talk about foreign policy. The candidates that are going to talk about foreign policy, do any of the candidates have a principle that they use to determine when it is right to invade another country and when it is wrong?
Thus far, we really haven't heard any of them articulate that principle. To the degree these candidates have talked about foreign policy at all, and that has not been a lot given the focus on the domestic economy, it's been mostly criticizing President Obama. Generally on two fronts. One, saying that he has been too much of an internationalist, and secondly, suggesting that he is insufficiently committed to American exceptionalism. I mean, these are very sort of broad charges, and ironically enough, foreign policy is one area where Americans give President Obama his highest marks.
Do you think that they should have a principle that permits them to determine when it is right to use military force against another nation and when it is wrong?
I think that, we really haven't seen that in, presidents in our history traditionally have sort of confronted it situationally and not made these sorts of sweeping declarations. And certainly if you look at President Obama, he came into office saying that he would get us out of Iraq and that he would prosecute the war in Afghanistan more forcefully. But, and he has done, I think, both of those things, but it has turned out to be, in both cases, more complicated than I think he anticipated getting in.
You think that you can evaluate effectively without a principle?
I think circumstances change in the world, and 9/11 ended up being, I think, changing a lot of, of people's feelings about this. I mean, after Vietnam, you would have, this country was very resistant toward foreign excursions. Now we're in 3 wars at once, essentially.
Well, don't you think that we need a principle, or at least we need a principle explained and expounded on so that the people will know when we're going to go to war and when not and why?
Well, that is just not the way it has ever, I think, worked in this country. What has happened when we have gone to war, whether it is World War II or Korea or Vietnam, and again, people came out of these feeling very differently about these wars, but it was much more a reaction to circumstances and also a coalescing of American public opinion as to whether these wars are worth it.
Do you have a principle that would permit us to know whether we should go to war or not?
No, and that is why I am not running to be Commander-in-Chief. I'm just a political reporter.
But it would be helpful if the Commander-in-Chief had a principle. Don't you think he would be able to reason better?
Well, how do you mean, for instance?
Well, we would know.
But what would that principle look like, and how could you write it so that it could adapt to specific circumstances?
Well, would you like an example of a simple principle? Well, the principle that almost all of us decent citizens use in our personal life, self-defense. If we're attacked or an imminent threat of attack, then we use force. If not, we respect other people and we don't lean on them and try to intimidate them or attack them if they haven't attacked us or aren't going to attack us.
Yeah, well, I think just
How about that principle? Will that work?
Again, I'm not running for Commander-in-Chief.
But you liked it, didn't you?
Well, I'm not running for Commander-in-Chief. So, anyway.
You didn't like that principle?
Well, I'm not running for Commander-in-Chief.
Well, I offered one. You asked me to give you one. And since, I think we're all citizens and it's okay for us to contribute our viewpoint, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And again, I don't think you're going to hear anything like a broad principle like that tonight. I think people are going to be asked about specifics, about Libya, about Afghanistan, and I think that is generally how foreign policy has been debated in this country.
Do you think that the federal government has as a proper function liberating and protecting foreigners?
You know, again, I'm not running for commander-in-chief, and I am not going to not going to engage this.
You don't have a view on that issue, on whether the federal government, is that a proper function of the federal government?
I'm a political reporter and a journalist.
But you offer your commentary, and you comment on TV all the time.
I offer my reporting and my analysis. I do not offer my opinion. That's the difference between.
You don't give your opinions on various issues?
No, I do not. In fact, I make a very strong point of being a journalist.
Well, as a matter of fact, does the Constitution authorize this as a proper function of the federal government? Does it say?
Again, I'm a political reporter, and I really do have to get back in.
It's just a matter of fact. In our Constitution, is the Congress given the authority to liberate and protect foreigners?
I am going to have to really and truly, you're way off of my expertise here, and I am, not a foreign policy expert. I am a domestic political reporter, and I've got to go in and do my job and cover this campaign.
You can't answer that question? It's just a matter of fact.
No, I am not here to answer questions.
Well, let me ask you this, as a hypothetical. If we did not try to liberate and protect foreigners, would we be involved in a lot less wars?
I really do need to go back and do my job. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I'm sorry you can't answer any more questions.